And good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, the Saturday of the Memorial Day weekend 2021. Welcome to the show. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as most of the podcast platforms as well, such as Apple Podcasts. We've got Spotify. We got, I'm going to go through all of them, but we're on most of the major platforms for your enjoyment. So we're here coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, talking about gambling, betting, baseball, and basketball primarily. Of course, we got the Belmont Stakes coming up next week. We'll talk about that next week. So it's Saturday, the first Saturday before we go into our big weekend here as far as Memorial Day is concerned. If you're celebrating, I hope you got to wherever you're going. And if you haven't, good luck. I hope you get there safely with no problems. It's one of the most traveled weekends of the year, especially the fact that last year at this time, there was hardly any traveling at all, primarily because of the coronavirus situation. But now that it's pretty well, not totally out of the way, but at least it's not as really popular as it used to be, shall we say. More and more people are starting to enjoy themselves, trying to bring their lives back to some form of normalcy. A lot of people traveling. Then when they ask people where they're going, they're just going. They just want to go. They just want to do something. They finally have an opportunity to do it, so that's what they're doing. So good luck to you out there. I hope, like I said, wherever you're going, I hope you got there okay. And if you haven't, I hope you have least amount of problems possible to get to your ultimate destination. But of course, if you're not going anywhere like we are here, we're just sitting right here waiting and seeing what's going on this weekend. Good luck to you as well. I hope you enjoy the weekend with your family if you're staying locally, having some barbecues or whatever it is that your family engages in. So, but more importantly than that, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Sports Wagering Zone. Today we're going to talk baseball. We've got a couple of games on tap to talk about. We have 3 NBA games to talk about as far as which direction they are going, as far as their line movement is concerned, and also as far as which direction the pros are going as well. We'll give you an update as to how well that they're doing so far since the playoffs began. And of course, we got 2 baseball games. We're not going to go into the detail like yesterday or the day before. We're not going to go into the detail of baseball because we're going to spend enough time on basketball. And of course, time is kind of in the way. Not enough time to talk about the full information on baseball, but we'll tell you the teams and some of the primary reasons why the pros chose those particular teams as well. So let's get started. We're ready to get going. It's the Saturday within Memorial Day. Oh, by the way, also, if we have enough time, we're going to talk about some futures. We're going to take a look at 4 teams that we kind of looked at. We think that have a good possibility of going on the over. So if you're interested in game total futures, we're going to talk about 3 or 4 games that we have on tap that we want to tell you about as to our thoughts on those games as far as their futures are concerned with total games won or lost. Anyway, let's get started with what happened yesterday. Friday, the world of sports. National Hockey League to start with. The National Hockey League, the Golden Knights. They beat the Wild. I mean, they just not only they beat them, they beat them up 6-2. Game 7. Okay, the Golden Knights over the Wild, 6-2 in Game 7. Vegas won as a -200 home favorite, and also they covered at the 1.5 goal puck line period as well, and that was at +155 because it went over the 5 on the over. 6 and 2 was 8, so the over was 5. The favorites still leading the playoffs, 23-17. There were 3 pick'ems in there as well. The home teams took the lead yesterday. They now lead 22-21. No big lead, so it's almost like 50-50 right now. The unders lead was cut down to 22-21 as well. Again, not a big change there as well. Meanwhile, in the NBA, the favorites, they went 2-1 straight up and against the spread. The Hawks, a 4.5-point favorite, beat the Knicks. The Clippers, a 3-point favorite, finally came through and beat the Mavericks. And both these teams covered as well. Now, there was an outright upset by the Celtics, 7.5-point underdogs, plus 270 on the money line against the Nets. That was the one underdog that came in yesterday. The Celtics and Brooklyn. The favorites now lead 15-7 straight up. 13-9 against the spread. Now, yesterday on the show, we talked about the zigzag effect. I just don't want to go into too much detail about that as well, but maybe tomorrow, if I have a few minutes, I'll explain to our weekend listeners as to what the zigzag is all about. We talked about it yesterday at great length, and of course, I kind of realized that on Saturday and Sunday, we sometimes have listeners that don't listen during the week and vice versa. So I try to repeat certain things that I've talked about during the week that I think might be of some interest. I don't know. So if you heard it during the week and you're hearing it again, I apologize for that, but that's really the only way that I can do it. So I'll try to do it tomorrow, talking about the zigzag. Yesterday, the zigzag came out 3-0 against the spread. It's back to 500. So far in the series, it's 7-7 against the spread. The overs went 2-1 yesterday. The overs lead slightly, 12-10, as far as the playoffs are concerned. Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, the favorites in the dogs, they split 5-5, including the Red Sox, a minus 160 against the Marlins, and the Blue Jays, a minus 165 against the Indians. They won in a rain-shortened game, that final one. Now, the favorites, of course, in that particular game between the Indians and the Jays, that was considered as a no action in that particular game. So in case if you did have any bets on them, they're probably going to be rescinded to you as well. Now, the favorites lead 408-320, which is 56% so far. You had 25 pick'ems in there. The over-under is 4-4 with 2 no actions yesterday. The unders still lead, and they're at almost 51%. But as far as the favorites are concerned in baseball, they do lead at 56% so far. So that's a wrap up on baseball, basketball, and hockey. And of course, when we do come back, we're going to take a look at the 3 basketball games we have on tap for today, as well as the 2 baseball games that we're going to tell you about as well. The 3 games we're talking about in the NBA, the 1:30, you got the Bucks against the Heat. At 4 o'clock, you got the Nuggets up against the Portland Trailblazers. And at 7 o'clock, the Philadelphia 76ers against the Washington Wizards. Those are the games we're going to look at in detail. We've been following the line movements on those games, and we're also going to see in which direction the pros are going as far as those games are concerned as well. So let's take that first break, and if you've never listened to the show before, just to let you know, we do take 3 breaks within the show. Each one is of about 1 minute duration. So we're going to take that break and be back in 60 seconds. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. It's Saturday morning. Saturdays and Sundays, we start at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Monday through Friday, we're here at 12 noon Eastern Time if you want to listen live. Of course, we do podcasts on most of the major podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts as well. So we're there. You can find us as no problem whatsoever. But of course, as always, we really thank you for listening to the show. We totally appreciate your patronage. Now let's get down to basketball for today. 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. Now this is game 4. Game 4 of the Eastern Conference starting to come down, the first round. The Bucks lead 3-0, and they have a chance now to eliminate the Heat with a victory this afternoon. That could all happen. The line opened with the Bucks a 5-point road favorite. The public is betting on the Bucks to lay the points, and they're expecting another easy win and an easy cover as well. But as usual, despite this lopsided support for the Bucks, we've seen the line either stay the same or frozen, as we call it, at 5, or at some books it started to drop to 4.5. So this means that some of the pro money is coming in, and it's called a reverse line movement on the Heat. The pros are grabbing the points, not laying them in this game. They think Miami will come back and at least win one game in this series. Miami is a super contrarian in what's going to be a really heavily bet desperation game. Now, we've also seen some under money coming in as well. The total opened at 222.5, and it's dropped down to 221.5, despite a majority of the bets that are coming in as far as tickets are concerned taking the over. Now, this signals some pro money coming in for the under. That forces the odds makers to adjust the line in a downward slope. Okay, the under is 2-1 this series. Now, one variable you want to keep in mind: Bucks starting guard Dante DiVincenzo is out for the rest of the postseason because he sustained an injury in Game 3. Dante DiVincenzo is not going to be playing today for the Bucks, so that's something to kind of think about if you're looking at betting this game. And maybe perhaps now Miami may have a chance to come back and win at least one game in this series. So in this first game between the Bucks and the Heat, the general public, they like the Bucks. They think they're going to win and win easy. Miami Heat are the choice of the pros, as well as going to the under in this game as well. Meanwhile, at 4 o'clock, you have the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. Now, this is game 4. It's a Western Conference first round game. The Nuggets lead this series 2-1. The teams split the first 2 games in Denver, and then the Nuggets earned that 120-115 win in Game 3 in Portland, winning outright as 3.5-point road dogs in that game. Now, in today's big game, Game 4, the Blazers opened as a 3.5-point home favorite. Now, spread bets are split right down the middle. Yet we've seen Portland move from being a 3.5 to a 4-point favorite. What this means is that the pro money is in the favor of Portland. Playoff favorites are 16-12 against the spread so far in this postseason. That's 57%. Okay? Playoff favorites at 57%. Short playoff favorites, that's being a favorite by 5 points or less, are 11-5 against the spread, or at 69% for the season. So that kind of falls into this category. The pros have also targeted the under in this game. We've seen that total drop down from 228.5 down to 227.5. Now, this is notable because the over is 3-0 so far in this series, but the pro money is still going under based on the reverse line move that's going in a downward direction. Now, leading 2-1 in the series, the Nuggets are a minus 200 to advance to the next round. Odds, of course, we get from BetMGM. The Blazers are plus 165 as dogs to come back and win the series as well. So in this particular game, the Nuggets against the Portland Trailblazers, the pros, the analytics all seem to be on the Portland Trailblazers in this game as well. So in the first game, we talked about the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. The pros in that particular game are on the Miami Heat. They kind of think they got a shot at coming back, especially now that Dante DiVincenzo is not going to be playing for the Bucks. He's out for the entire series. Of course, in Denver against Portland, the pros are on the Portland Trailblazers in that game. So we're going to take our second break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the 76ers against the Washington Wizards. That's a game that's on tap for about 7 o'clock tonight. So just a reminder, we're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to take our second break, and we'll be back right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Now we're looking at the three games on tap for the NBA playoffs today, taking a look at which direction the line movement is going, as well as which direction the pros are going. Just to recap the two games we talked about before the break. Milwaukee Bucks against Miami Heat. Pros in that game, they like the Miami Heat. They think they're going to come back and win at least one game in this series. Meanwhile, the Nuggets against the Portland Trailblazers. In that particular game, the pros are on the favorite, the Portland Trailblazers, as well as all the analytics seem to be pointing in that direction as well. Now, the final game we're looking at for today at 7 o'clock, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Washington Wizards. This is game 3. Eastern Conference, the first round. The 76ers lead this series 2-0. Philadelphia won the first one, 125-118. Although they didn't cover in that game, they were 8-point home favorites in that game. And then the 76ers blew out the Wizards 120-95 in game 2. They easily covered. They were 8.5-point home favorites in that game. Now, in tonight's pivotal game 3, Philadelphia opened as a 5.5-point road favorite. Now, the pros and the general public, they seem to be united on laying the points in this game with the 76ers. The pros and the general public on the same team. As we've seen Philadelphia go from being a 5.5 to a 6-point favorite for today. The road favorites, they're 3-1 against the spread this playoff season. The favorites, in which the line stays the same or moves in their favor, okay, are at 60%. Up 2-0 in the series. The 76ers are now minus 10,000 on the money line as favorites to move on in the tournament. The Wizards, they're at plus 1,800 as dogs to come back and win the series as well. The total has ticked down slightly. It was at 228, down to 227.5. What that means is respected pro money is on the under in this game. So once again, to talk about the three games on tap for today, as far as the line movement and the direction that the pros are going. In the first game at 1:30, the Bucks against the Heat. The pros are on Miami. General public on the Bucks. Denver Nuggets and Portland Trailblazers. The pros are on the Portland Trailblazers. And finally, the 76ers against the Washington Wizards. In that particular game, the pros are on the 76ers as well as the public, the general public, and the pros are on it as well. So that's one thing you kind of want to keep in mind as far as that's concerned. So that's the story for basketball for today, for the playoffs. That's the way the pros and the general public is looking at these three games. It's a weekend. Well, I don't know how good or bad the betting situation is going to be because, sometimes people that live in states where it's legalized, they may be going to a state where it's not. So there's the possibility of some changes there. But, generally it should be a pretty good betting weekend as far as sports are concerned. You've got, people on vacation, got that extra money that they took out of their 401ks or the money that they saved up to go away on this vacation. So they're fat with cash. They're ready to start making some bets, and that could very well happen today in basketball as well. So let's take a look at the two baseball games on tap for today. We're not going to go into any detail as to why these games are chosen like we normally do, but just to give you an idea as to who they are. In the first game, we're at the against the Dodgers. And in this particular game, Julio Urias and Logan Webb are currently the projected starters for this other matchup between the Dodgers and the Giants. Of course, the Giants did come back and win that game yesterday. The Dodgers, we talked about this game yesterday, the Dodgers happened to be the pick by the pros yesterday, and they were kind of wrong on this one. But we said the juice was going to be very high in that game. If you like the Dodgers that much, you're going to have to lay out some real heavy juice. But in the meantime, same thing happens today. The pros like the Dodgers in this game as well. But as usual, we saw it around 190. It'll probably break 200 possibly before game time. The pros are on the Dodgers in this particular game. In the next game we're looking at, the Marlins against the Red Sox. In this particular game, Nathan Eovaldi and the Boston Red Sox, they're playing. The Miami Marlins are slight underdogs in this game, but it's kind of close. It could go in either direction. And the pros in this game, they do like the Marlins as far as a bet is concerned. So in this game, Red Sox and the Marlins, the pros are on the Marlins. And of course, with the Dodgers against the Giants, the pros in that game are on the Dodgers as well. So let's take a minute now and let you know what happened yesterday as far as the betting situation. The teams that we talk about the bet on, for instance, very important. We want to let you know what's going on there. So Again, we've been running this little system, little method where we follow the pros wherever they go as far as whatever team they pick. We kind of let you know what that is. And then, of course, we leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to play it. So yesterday, we did have 3 plays. Actually, we had 4 plays, but one game was postponed. That was the Braves and the Mets. We had the Giants against the Dodgers. We had the Dodgers. Of course, that was a losing situation. We had the Marlins, who lost to the Red Sox, as we just said. And, of course, we had Arizona over the Cardinals, and that was a loss as well. So we had 3 losers yesterday, just to show you the ups and downs. No matter how well or how good a system is, it's going to have its days where it's on the downward slide. There's going to be days where it's going to be on a big move upward as well. Now, of all the days, we've been doing this since April the 1st, okay? So you're looking at 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks now. Into 8 weeks, we've only had 4 days out of 60 days where we had 3 losers in one day. Okay, so that was yesterday. Just to kind of give you a full perspective of what it is. So the total so far is we played 159 plays, 83 winners, and that comes out to a 52.2% as a percentage of wins, in spite of the fact that we did have 3 losers yesterday as well. So just to give you an idea, we tell you when it's good, we tell you when it's bad. We have no dog in this fight. It's just a simple method. We didn't come up with it. It's nothing new. A lot of people do this very simple method, and you want to do it. It's easy to handle. They do pretty well. Okay, and of course, so they have their ups and their downs. Yesterday just happened to be a down day, but still overall over 52%. So it's not bad at all. Meanwhile, in basketball, we had some selections that the pros as well yesterday, and we had 3 plays yesterday. You had the Knicks against the Hawks. They had the Knicks because that was a loser. Brooklyn against Boston. They had Boston. Brooklyn was the loser in that one. Then they had the Clippers over the Dallas Mavericks. That was a winning situation. So 3 plays in basketball yesterday, 1 winner, 2 losers, but this is still a fantastic number. So far, since the playoffs began, we had 18 plays and 14 winners so far, in spite of the fact that we had 2 losers yesterday. So just imagine how well they were doing going into it. Just to let you know what it is, because, some people looked at the results going into yesterday and said, hey, at that level and being at 15 and 13, wow, I think it's about time to them to come down a little bit. And in this situation, 2 out of the 3 games they did lose. That's one way to look at it. Some people will look at this now and say, well, okay, they had their little downward sling. Now they're going to come right back and probably win for it today. So I think I'll stay with them. But again, we leave that decision totally up to you. Let you make the final choice as to what you want to do. All we do is report the statistics to you, let you know who the games are, who the teams are, and then you take it from there. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the NFL. The NFL is always in action all season long. Doesn't make any difference. We got a couple of games we want to look at as far as the over-under futures betting game totals are concerned. So let's take that final break, and when we come back, that's what we're going to be talking about. So we'll be back into the zone right after this. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on this Memorial Day weekend. Yes, everybody's out having fun. We're here having fun, but we're not going anywhere. That's the whole story. Anyway, we're glad to do it. We have fun. We totally enjoy what we do here in Charlotte. So anyway, we took that. Take a look at 3 basketball games. We told you which direction the pros are going. Took a look at 2 baseball games. Let you know which direction the pros were going there. So we got all that taken care of. Now let's take a little look at a few games that are coming up as far as game totals are concerned and futures wagering. If you're into futures wagering, not everybody is. One of the negative aspects that most people, why they don't get involved in futures betting, is that you tie up your money for the whole season, okay? If you make a bet today, it's got to sit there and you got to wait until February before you find out whether you're going to win or lose. And if you do win, or even if you're winning as you're going along, you can't collect until the season is over. So let's take a look at a couple of games, because now that, a little over a month has gone by, the NFL's been kind of settling in. The only thing really left right now are the free agent signings, which are going to be ending on the 1st of the month in June. There's still some thoughts and ideas as to where Julio Jones is going to go, or Aaron Rodgers. So, if you want to stay away from Denver, you want to stay away from Green Bay, in some instances, in some sports books, you can't even get a line on those games anyway. So let's take a look at a couple of games what we think will be coming, and a good bet to look at as an over, okay? We're looking at the Dallas Cowboys. Their number is 9. Kind of think the over is the play here. It was a really tough season for Dallas with Mike McCarthy. It was his first year as a coach, They finished 6-10. They lost their first 8 games. And not only did they lose the games, but they didn't cover at all. They lost their first 8 games against the spread last season. The Cowboys began 2020 under the weight of those unrealistic expectations that they seem to have every year. Every year they talk about the oh yeah, they're going to playoffs. They're going to get into the Super Bowl. It's been 25, 26 years and anything like that has happened for them. But still, the hype is there. It's always there. The Cowboys. Then, of course, Dak Prescott got hurt week 5. That really put their playoff aspirations in the back burner. But in their 2nd through 5th games, okay, the Cowboys did put up almost 37 points per game. Now, the offense is really ready for greatness. Now with Prescott now coming back, big expectations, okay? I think the second year McCarthy could be a lot different than the first year. He's finally getting a hold of things, okay? Dallas qualifies for an intriguing system that shows that all but 5 of 33 teams have improved after a season in which they had a negative turnover differential and they won fewer than 6 games against the spread. Okay, out of 33 games, teams that fell into that category, 28 actually did come true. The NFC East remains a weak sister as far as we've seen. It seems it's time for the most talented team in that division to finally pull away from the rest of the crew. So we're looking at that game. We kind of think that Dallas and betting the over 9 is a good bet. Meanwhile, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're at 7 games. We're also looking for an over there as well. Trevor Lawrence, great abilities, okay? We believe that he's a natural star, and of course, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks that come out in many, many years. So it appears, okay? It kind of looks that way, okay? I believe the combination of Meyer being the new coach and Lawrence already improves the Jaguars by leaps and bounds. There's no doubt about it. I've heard the arguments about Meyer not having coached at the pro level. They say that about every college coach that comes into the system. But he has been a winner everywhere. Remember that. He's commanded respect, and he seems to have generally impacted all the excitement that's going on in Jacksonville. So in this first season, Meyer qualifies for a system that shows that new coaches improving by 4.5 wins per season if their teams were outscored by 8.5 points or more in the season before. Can I say that again? This is a system that shows that new coaches they improve almost 4.5 wins the season they come in if their teams were outscored by over 8.5 points from the year before. I know that adding 4.5 wins would only make the Jaguars almost a 6 for the Jaguars this season. But if you look at the early part of the schedule, it's really possible that they could win 4 or 5 of their first 6 games. So at that point, with having some momentum on their side and getting excited that they're winning, anything is really possible. So we're looking for the Jaguars and the over at 7. So those are just 2 games we took a quick look at, kind of put some stats together, give you some thoughts and ideas, something for you to think about. Okay, if you're interested in betting on futures, I know a lot of people aren't. They kind of save their money to bet in the regular games week to week. They like to do that. But if you are into futures betting, or you just want to just lay a few bucks down, you get some fairly decent odds on some of these games. So you don't bet your regular normal. If you're betting, let's say $50 a game, don't bet $50 on a future. Bet 10, maybe bet 15. Just have something, a dog in the fight, if that's the way you want to look at it. But remember, it's going to be tied up there all season long. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. And of course, I want to let you know about the 3 games once again as far as basketball is concerned. I want to tell you about those games. We cover them in great detail. I just want to bring them to your attention in case you missed the first part of the show. Of course, you can always play it back on podcast and hear it as well. Hear the details of it. But in the meantime, just to let you know that the Miami Milwaukee Bucks game, the pros are on the Miami Heat. I know it's a strange move, but keep in mind, Dante DiVincenzo is not going to be playing for the Bucks for the rest of the season. Could be a game changer, at least in this game, okay? They got to figure that they may be a little slack, laying back, figuring, hey, we've already won 3 games, so we lose one, we can always come back and win the day after, okay? Meanwhile, Miami is fighting for their lives, a lot of struggling going on, so the pros in this particular game are on Miami as we see it. Anyway, the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. In that game, the pros are on the Portland Trailblazers. And the final game, 7 o'clock tonight, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Washington Wizards, the pros, and the general public. Everybody likes Philadelphia against Washington in that particular game. Meanwhile, in baseball, the 2 games we talked about as far as betting is concerned, the 2 games on tap for today, you got the Giants against the Dodgers. The pros like the Dodgers in that game, but just in case you haven't looked yet, be prepared to lay a lot of wood, somewhere around $200 on the money line on the minus side in this particular game. But they do like the Dodgers because they liked them yesterday. There was a big disparity there as well. They were well over 190 to 200 in some places as far as the money line was concerned. And, of course, they lost. Now, the other game they have today is the Marlins against the Red Sox. They like the Marlins in that game as well. And they had the Marlins the day before. They lost on that one then. But just to give you an idea, those are the 2 games that the pros like and those baseball games on tap for today. So it's Memorial Day weekend. It's Saturday. If you're traveling, I hope you have a very safe trip. I hope if you going somewhere, you got there. I hope you got there safely. Everything is okay. If you're staying at home, you got to be with your family, have a little barbecue, have a little food, have a little get together. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of fun as well. Although there are many people traveling. This is one of the largest travel weekends for quite a while, primarily because of the coronavirus. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. We gave you all the selections for today. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, every Saturday and Sunday. During the week, we're here at noon Eastern Time. So if you're going to be out there betting today, we wish you the best of luck. We hope you have a very pleasant Saturday, an enjoyable weekend. And of course, it could be more enjoyable if you are betting, if you're winning. So we hope that you do. We want you to win. That's the whole concept of the show, to help make you a better handicapper. So until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Goodbye, everybody.